The Western Players Radio Group present Mr. and Mrs. Smith Go to Washington, a radio play by Andrew Barber, directed by Susan Pearson.
Good morning, Foreign and Commonwealth Office. I'm sorry, Miss Davenport is just going into a meeting, and then she's seeing the Minister at 12. Let me look at her diary.
Come in.
You wanted to see me, Miss Davenport?
Ah, Jenkins, there you are. I have to see the Minister this afternoon to brief him on this ghastly Smith family situation. I need you to bring me up to speed as soon as possible.
I will try my best, but it is quite an, involved story, ma'am. How much do you know of it already?
Well, I know that the Smith family exist, that they went to the US, and that the Minister is vexed. Beyond that, I have cherished my ignorance on the subject until now.
I see. Well, John and Lorraine Smith are a married retired couple from Swindon. They have never left the UK before. They ordered their first passports for this trip.
Why were they going to the US?
Well, their children encouraged them to do some living while they still had the chance. They paid for the trip.
And what did they do in the US?
They seem to have been quiet for the first few days of their trip, at least. They are creatures of habit. Every day begins with tea and the crossword, and every evening ends with watching game shows on TV.
And what do they do during the day?
Well, according to the interview reports, she goes shopping for books.
And what does he do?
Well, in his own words, he just kind of follows her around.
She has my sympathy.
Indeed. Let me try to sketch in some details of their first few days in the US.
13 across, something you do every day to feel clean. 8 letters, then 5.
Buying books?
Only you, Lorraine, my sweet. No, it doesn't fit anyway.
Have you got any letters? This hotel has a whole channel of stuff about the hotel. How strange. They all look happy to work here anyway. Look how smiley they all are.
The second letter is an R. Well, if 5 down is right. This state's a peach. 7 letters.
Georgia.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Brushing teeth. To the other clue. The 8 and the 5.
Yeah, that works.
Have you seen the length of our itinerary for this trip, John? So many places to visit. When the kids asked if we had any regrets about our life, and you said, well, it might have been nice to do some travelling, they really took us at our word.
I don't recall saying I want to go on a whistle-stop tour of America at my time of life.
Maybe they misheard you. We're about halfway through this magical literary mystery tour now. We've been to Hemingway country. We've been to Florida, home of the serial killer.
It's amazing that Hannibal Lecter and Dexter Morgan were both created by Florida writers. Maybe there's something in the water.
Alligators, I expect. Where were we?
Florida.
Oh, yes. And then we had the hard-boiled Mickey Spillane side of New York. And now, here we are in Washington. Why are we in Washington again?
Spy thrillers, I guess. I was just reading that John Erckman wrote one, and he was involved in Watergate. Also, a Dan Brown book was set here. I don't know how Martin loves his Dan Brown.
Oh, don't be so hard on him. It's not his fault. I think we're only going to New Orleans because Sue likes Anne Rice, to be honest. I had to get her one of those vampire books for Christmas, remember?
Except you got that erotic Anne Rice book by mistake.
Yeah, that's what she thinks. Oh, it was worth it for the look on her face. Oh, there's a little bookshop up the road from here that I'd like to check out. Concierge says it's quite old.
They don't say up the road here. They say on the next block.
Well, whatever they call it, I'm going there. You coming with me?
Oh, well, of course, my love. But I'm bringing my crossword.
What a lovely old shop. And they say America has no history. Well, this place must be at least 100 years old. That's practically antediluvian by American standards.
That's not even as old as the Mechanics' Institute.
Oh, but it's in much better condition. It has a roof and everything. I'm going to check out the American fiction. Oh, look, there's some spy novels over there. You might find something you like.
Oh, they do have all the greats. Frederick Forsyth, Len Dayton, John le Carré.
Well, there you go. It'd be like being reunited with your childhood. I'm going to see if they have Catcher in the Rye. I've heard so much about it, but never actually read it. Oh, there it is.
Here, just hold my newspaper for a minute. If it was going to be a childhood reunion, I'd be looking for Billy Bunter and the Magic Faraway Tree.
Just this, please.
Oh, and these.
Also, the eagle has landed and the spy has come in from the cold.
It's actually the spy that came in from the cold.
You're right, you know.
I think you'd prefer this one.
Well, that looks lovely. A hardback as well.
Hold on. How much is this version, then?
Don't make a scene. The young woman is being helpful. They do that here.
There'll be no charge.
Oh, well, that's more like it. Come on, love. Let's get out of here before she changes her mind.
I don't think she meant all of them.
Well, that was nice. What a charming young woman. Very kind of her.
I'm sure she didn't want you to take all of them like that. You're going to get us arrested.
Well, the kids wanted us to live, didn't they? We could be desperados like the winners in the movies. We could be like Butch and Sundance and ride off into the sunset.
They got shot at the end.
Well, Thelma and Louis then.
It was Thelma and Louise, and they drove off a cliff.
Oh, well, how about...
The old couple have now left the shop. I'm going in. See, I know exactly where is the book. Adios. I shall call back when I have the package. The eagle has landed, and the spy has come in from the cold.
I think this is the one you want. Jesus, what a day. We've been compromised. The pickup went as expected. The courier arrived, the newspaper under their arm with a copy of Catcher in the Rye, and they knew the proper phrase. All went as clockwork. I was just about to call you when this guy came in, and he knew the arrangements as well. So I shot him. I guess about 6'1", maybe 200 pounds. Caucasian male, mid-30s, dark-haired. He's wearing a grey suit. Hold on, I'll check. Yep, blue eyes. No, the other one was an old Britisher woman with her husband. He was always going to use a patsy, so don't try to pin this on me. Okay, we might have a situation.
Oh, what a nice, uneventful day. Just what you want from a holiday.
Well, I got my spy novels. Oh dear.
I don't know why you don't just wear your glasses.
I don't need them. My eyes are fine. It's just that my arms are too short.
Oh, sure. And I'm not overweight. I'm just under tall. Oh, don't stay up all night reading. We've got to go to New Orleans tomorrow.
And they had no idea of the chaos they had left in their wake.
No, Mum. As you might be aware, the bookshop owner was picked up by the security services that evening.
Which agency?
Well, that's another of the complicated parts. There was quite the jurisdictional battle going on. This was all triggered by an NSA analyst illegally downloading quite a lot of data.
Well, I assume we're not talking about Pirate Bay.
We are not. Well, allegedly, she'd been wanting to download the details of a secretive trade deal. But she also downloaded a list of every CIA agent and local asset in the world.
I can see why the CIA would want jurisdiction. Their assets were at risk.
Oh, yes, Mum. Well, also the FBI wanted to run the investigation as it was a federal crime.
Well, who won?
The NSA. Well, this was a matter of national security, and, well, national security comes first.
As it should.
Well, as you say, Mum. Anyway, it transpired that all the data was on a micro SD card.
And where was this SD card?
Well, hidden behind an Oprah sticker inside the cover of a hardback edition of Catcher in the Rye.
And that's the one that the Smiths had, I expect?
I'm afraid so. GCHQ had intercepted some of the NSA interrogation. Would you like to hear it?
Oh, not especially, but I expect I probably should.
So you claim not to remember anything about them at all?
I told you, old and British. That's all I can remember.
And you have no CCTV footage of them?
Nah, that's been on the fritz for ages.
We know the file was in your shop. We've already interrogated the person who stole it. The name of your shop was on their phone.
What can I say? It's a popular shop. I'd imagined it was mentioned on the phones of lots of discerning book buyers. If they'd mentioned McDonald's, who would you be interrogating right now? Ronald McDonald, the Hamburglar? He seemed to be a suspicious character.
Listen up, smart guy, and listen well. We know it was you. Try to keep waterboarding at Guantanamo Bay at the forefront of your mind.
I've been windsurfing in Montego Bay. I had a lovely time. Is it anything like that?
Yeah, you'll talk. They all talk. Take her away.
What were the Smiths doing at this stage? Were they in US custody as well?
No, they were watching Family Feud in their hotel room, according to the interview reports, and complaining that Bob Monkhouse wasn't doing it anymore.
Isn't he dead?
Yes, I believe so.
And what did the Smiths do after they'd finished complaining about Family Feud not being an 80s version of Family Fortunes?
Well, that's when they went to New Orleans.
So, this is New Orleans. I thought we'd landed there hours ago.
No, that was Atlanta. We had a stopover.
Well, it's still very muggy. I didn't know it would be as humid as this.
Well, this is swamp country. Florida with Frenchmen and voodoo. Oh, you look tired. Let's go and find somewhere where we can get a nice cup of tea. Everything's better with a nice cup of tea. Taxi!
Monsieur Smith, Madame Smith, welcome to the St. James Hotel. If you would fill in this form for me, and I will let you have...
Oh, I could get used to life like this, you know. I reckon Tom Jones probably lives like this, on the road all the time. Another day, another city.
Oh, I really could murder a cuppa. Do we still have some of that powdered milk left? You know what the doctor said about us cutting down on fat and lactose?
Oh, we certainly do. Well, I'm glad they didn't find this. If American cheese is anything to go by, their milk is probably sprayed on. I've heard that in Canada, milk comes in bags. Can you imagine it? Well, that was a good idea, though, repacking that powdered milk in a Ziploc bag, by the way.
I've seen the mess you can make with it. I didn't want it getting all over our clothes.
Sorry there aren't any biscuits. That lady grabbed my hobnobs at the airport. But they didn't find my tea bags, and they didn't find this bag of powdery goodness.
Put down the cocaine, boy, and lay on the floor. Now!
What's going on?
John? Oh, John! He needs his pills. John tried to calm down. They're on the side. I can see them from here. I told you not to steal those books.
Thank you, Jenkins. So that's how he ended up in hospital. That's a relief. I assumed he'd been shot.
Well, it seems he had a pre-existing medical condition. Angina, I believe.
And that's where he was interrogated? In the hospital?
That's right.
So you really expect me to believe your name is John Smith? That's a bit of a cliche, isn't it? I thought your handlers would have more imagination than that.
My handlers? I don't know what you're talking about, son. I've just woken up here. If John Smith is a cliche name, maybe it's because there's such a lot of people called John Smith, and I'm just one of them.
We know you're working with the Cuban government. The trail leads directly to you and your accomplice, pretending to be hapless British tourists.
Oh, good God, man. I am a hapless British tourist. I've been moved from pillar to post and back again since I got here. I have no bloody idea which city I'm even in. Is this Tuesday? Because it might be San Francisco if it is. And even then I don't know which Tuesday, because the times are all weird. I phoned my daughter after I'd had my dinner the other night, and she swore blind it was 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, what sort of twilight zone are you running here?
Why were you in Havana? Were you meeting your handler? Was it this man? Was it Raul Cortez?
I have no idea why I was in Havana. I think my kids thought it would be a good idea for me to do some living, they said. Well, I did some living and it almost got me killed.
Answer the damn question. Why were you in Havana?
I've told you. I don't really know. Apparently Ernest Hemingway lived there. That's why I was in Cuba. My wife is a keen reader. She writes as well sometimes. She's doing NaNoWriMo this year.
What on God's green earth is NaNoWriMo?
National Novel Writing Month. Maybe she'll have something to write about now.
You can save your breath. She's already tried that excuse. We've got her search history from GCHQ. The British government have been very helpful. We know the sort of thing she's been plotting.
She's been plotting a novel.
Did Raul Cortez give you the cocaine?
What bloody cocaine? That thug we made in my hotel room was shouting about cocaine as well. But I honestly have no idea what you're talking about.
You'd better pray the lab results come back negative. Why are you going to San Francisco?
Oh, God knows. Something to do with Ferlinghetti?
Massimo Ferlinghetti, mob lawyer to the Lanza family. Is this mafia cocaine?
What? No, he's some kind of hippie poet, I think. Well, that's more Lorraine's cup of tea than mine.
So, Jenkins, where was Mrs. Smith when all this was going on?
Well, she was being interrogated at the NSA complex in Louisiana, ma'am. It took some time because she was a writer.
Well, I'm afraid I don't follow you.
Writers need to do a lot of research, apparently. Well, she claims to be writing a romance novel about one Cameron Macduff, an alpha male serial killer profiler in a kilt. I understand that men in kilts are very popular in the romance genre.
And do kilts appear on an NSA watch list? Why were kilts a problem for the US security services? I've seen Brigadoon. The more Americans do research into Scotland, the better.
Well, the kilts were fine, ma'am. Although I believe that she used a royal hunting tartan, which only a royal can wear. It's actually quite an interesting question. Some say that as kilt wearers traditionally wear the tartan of their chieftain, it would be disrespectful to the royal family to wear anything but a royal tartan, as Her Majesty is effectively our chieftain. Of course, others say...
Oh, enough with the kilts. You've already said that they were fine. Why was her search history a problem?
Well, the problem came with the antagonist, the villain, if you will. She was undecided on what sort of serial killer he should be. Well, over various iterations of the story, he went from being a neo-Nazi to a fundamentalist ISIS terrorist. Well, this necessitated a lot of research into subjects that, raised some eyebrows in Washington. The antagonist was also a voodoo practitioner at one point. I understand that this is why the Smiths went to New Orleans. Her children thought it would assist her in her research, but she'd moved on by then.
Oh, I wish we could move on from this. I'm seeing the minister in an hour. What happened at the interrogation?
Mrs. Smith, Mrs. Lorraine Smith.
Hello. Oh, I do like your sunglasses. You look just like that one from CSI. My eldest would love some like that. He never misses an episode. Did you get them online?
I've seen the files from your laptop in England, Mrs. Smith. You have some explaining to do.
Well, I'll tell you right now, if there's any porn there, I will be having serious words with my husband.
You claim to have been working on a novel since November 2014, and yet you have only written 412 words. This was in a document named Lead on Macduff Final Draft, and this time I mean it, ...
I got distracted by research. The internet's a real rabbit hole. You can spend days just researching Nazi ranks. Weeks. Did you know that Rotten Führer was a genuine Nazi rank? Weird, huh? And then I changed my mind about what to write.
You have not touched that file for, let me see, 4 years and 7 months.
Oh, I changed my mind repeatedly about what to write. Seriously, I still don't even have a name for my bad guy.
You really expect me to believe that? That someone would just decide to write a book without even knowing what it was going to be about?
Yes. Well, it's pretty standard. Or at least it is in most of the online writing groups I've joined. Some of my previous stories I just made up as I went along.
Your novel, such as it is called Lead on Macduff. Is Macduff the code name for your Cuban handler? Do you communicate with him via Wattpad?
Nobody communicates with me via Wattpad. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I even set up an author's page on Facebook, but nobody seems to be interested. I certainly don't have a Cuban handler, and the title was a line from Macbeth.
But it's not, though, is it? The correct line is Lay on Macduff. They were Macbeth's last words. The rest of the quote is, and damned be him who first cries out, hold enough. You were planning something big, something that ended with the death of a dignitary, something even amoral psychopaths would flinch at.
Are you sure? I could have sworn it was Lead On. Well, now I'm going to have to come up with a whole new title. Do you know of any other famous Macbeth lines that mention Macduff?
So it's not sounding good for the Smith family.
Mum, you are not going to believe this, but I think they're going to be okay. We have a mole at the CIA, codenamed Deus Ex Machina. I just had a message forwarded to me. It seems that other people were picked up by the security services, including the Chinese cultural attaché, who apparently honey-trapped the IT contractor at the NSA. She's the one who stole the data that started this mess. Well, the Chinese are not happy about their man in Washington being in Washington's custody, but, well, that's Washington's problem, not ours.
Finally, some good news.
Yes, Mum. Apparently, the whole thing was an elaborate off-the-book sting operation conducted by the CIA, and none of the other agencies knew anything about it. The supposed bookshop owner was actually a CIA associate, and she orchestrated the whole thing, although she seems to be a pretty grey figure even to the CIA. Well, according to the message, she was last seen boarding a plane to Yemen, but not by many. It was not a scheduled flight, and it flew very low. Make of that what you will. I suspect it might be above my pay grade to speculate.
I'm not actually sure what we pay you, but I suspect you may be right. Thank you, Jenkins. That was certainly a thorough summation. But I'm sure you have things to do. Don't you have the Smith family to release from US custody?
Ma'am.
It's good to have Mum and Dad back, sis. All the family back for Christmas again. It's nice.
Yeah, it really is. Have you been following the news about their case?
What do you think? I read today that Cuban guy, Raul Cortez, was found dead in Florida. It seemed like Lee, the Chinese guy, had arranged to sell the data to him. Just him, not the Cuban government or anything. It wasn't a story about global politics and world domination. Just two greedy people who got caught out. You'd think a cultural attaché would be on a nice earner already, and Senor Cortez probably just did want the details of the trade deal and the treasury stuff. All the CIA data was just an added bonus that got him killed.
Too much is never enough for some. The news said Lee got recalled to China after a prolonged diplomatic offensive. I love that phrase, diplomatic offensive. How can something be diplomatic and also offensive? Makes no bloody sense.
You have a lot to learn about passive aggression, Sue. Anyway, I'm so pleased Mum finished her novel. She wrote 60,000 words last month for her nano whatever, and another 30,000 this month. And now it's completely complete. Hint, hint.
OK, fair's fair, Martin. You won the bet. Here's your £5. Put it towards a copy of Lead On Macduff. Strange that now he's a surprisingly well-read NSA agent in a kilt.
Told you it would work, one way or another. Ah, look at them dancing over there. They're thriving. Mum's got a whole new lease of life. She's got purpose again. And Dad has never been so popular. For once, people want to hear his stories. He got over his heart thing too. The Yanks do have some good doctors.
But praise the Lord for travel insurance. You know what? I want to win that £5 back. Double or nothing on Dad. I reckon he's got a spy thriller in him, just begging to be released.
You're on. Next year, they're going to Berlin.
In Mr. and Mrs. Smith Go to Washington, the radio play by Andrew Barber, Lorraine Smith was played by Karen Evans, John Smith by Roger Trayhurn, Jenkins by Adrian Peace, Delia Davenport by Zena Howarth, Agent X and the Cuban by Tony Manders, Agent Y and Martin Smith by Matt Hemmings, and Sue Smith by Elaine Sturmey. Susan Pearson played the shopkeeper and the secretary. Sound effects were by Tony Manders. The recording engineers were Shirley Ludford and Alan Wrixon. Theme tune by Andrew Barber. Directed by Susan Pearson.